This week in the Regency, it's fashions for January. Now, it's become very clear to me that the fashion videos are the ones that people are really interested in. And so from now on, they're going to be 2 per month. In one, I will be doing Ackermann's Repository of the Arts fashion plates. And in the other, I will be doing La Belle Assemblée's fashion plates for the month. Remembering always that what I'm showing you for January was published in December. So they publish forwards to give you time to have the dress made, I guess. Today is a really odd and interesting one. Not something I've seen before in fashion in the Regency, and that's because it's just one outfit over 2 plates. So I'm going to show you the plates first, so that you can get a sense. First of all, we see the person from behind, and that's a nice kind of wintry color, I guess, nice and warm. It looks quite a thin silhouette. And here we're looking at the end of 1813, beginning of 1814. And you can see that it's a much thinner silhouette than it was in 1819. So as the years go past, the silhouette gets fuller and fuller, goes from a cone shape to eventually in the 1820s, we start getting a bell shape, and then we move into the Victorian period with that very exaggerated bell. So, but at this point in 1813, it's still quite thin. It's still quite narrow in that classic empire way. And then our second image is of a matching dress. And in the discussion of the outfit, they do talk about wearing it to the theatre. So it's definitely an evening outfit, but it's a winter evening outfit. It's being presented as a really new thing to have this matching coat and dress. So let's see what they say about it. It's quite verbose. So it starts with just saying, promenade or carriage costume, this dress, when divested of the spencer or jacket, exhibits the evening or opera costume. So what they're saying is it's a carriage costume when you've got the jacket on, and they're calling it a spencer. And again, we see the difference from 1819, because the spencers in 1819 were very short, whereas this is a long one, in a style which I would have thought you would call a pelisse. So it's interesting that that terminology is it's malleable at this point. In order to render these commodious habiliments the more clearly understood by our readers, we shall commence with a description of the evening or opera costume. That is the one you put on first, which consists of a round robe of maroon or crimson coloured merino, kerseymere or queen's cloth. Now, merino and kerseymere are both very fine wool. I've been looking for queen's cloth. I haven't been able to find it yet, but I would imagine that it is also a very fine wool. Ornamented round the bottom and up the front with a fancy gold embroidered border. The bodice is composed of satin or velvet of the same colour, so we're looking at a very coordinated outfit, trimmed round the bosom and sleeves with gold braid and narrow swan's down. Now, at this point, you're probably thinking, given what we were talking about with ermines in the last fashion video, that, oh no, they're killing swans. But in fact, not. No. Swan's down is a fabric. Again, wool. It's a fabric that has quite a soft nap. Now, the nap of a fabric is how the bits that come up above the main threads. So the heaviest nap is velvet. The lowest nap is satin, which basically has none. That's the whole point of satin, is it doesn't have a nap. And something like tweed would be in the middle. So swansdown is quite napped, and but it is fortunately actually a woolen fabric, not feathers from a swan. Although the word originally did mean that the very small feathers underneath the main ones, usually from the breast of the swan. The front of the bodice richly ornamented with gold and pearl buttons. A gold band and pearl or diamond clasp confine the bottom of the waist with a gold frog. Now, it's not an actual frog either. Frogging is where you have quite wide braid making patterns. You see it mostly on military uniforms these days. So that, you know, when you see the bands of somebody's rank, that's frogging, with the gold frog pending on each side, inclining towards the back of the figure. The robe is laced behind with gold cord. Hair is disposed in dishevelled curls. Finally, a Regency hairdo I can aspire to. Falling on the left side and decorated with clusters of variegated autumnal flowers. Necklace composed of a treble row of pearl, white cornelian is a kind of stone, or the satin bead, presumably that's cheaper, I thought. And then we get to confined in front with the diamond clasp. So yeah, no, not that much cheaper. Earrings and bracelets to correspond. Now what this tells us is that this is not a debutante's outfit. The colour alone, very deep, very rich, not a debutante's colour. But the fact that it's all diamonds and gold and, you know, it's quite ornate, that would very much suggest that this is a young matron's outfit, or even an older lady's outfit. But certainly this is not a debutante's outfit on first glance, and all this the diamond stuff, that tells us that it's not really intended for a debutante. This is a point at which pretty much everybody's wearing white at night, so it would really stand out. You would want to be a real fashion icon to wear this dress to the opera. Slippers of crimson velvet ornamented with gold fringe and rosettes, though we recommend those of white satin in preference. Okay, so clearly at this point, the editors of the fashion page in Ackermann's is going, oh my God, this is just so over the top. Can we just pull it back a bit? And this outfit is provided by a modiste, or in this case a modist because it's a man, and they just couldn't go that far with it. They're like, please just have something plain. White kid gloves below the elbow, and this means it's kind of, you could wear it to the opera. Evening, if you were going to a ball, the gloves should come right above the elbow. Fan of richly frosted silver crepe. And then we get to the jacket, as they're calling it, the spencer or jacket. This spencer, when worn over the evening dress, affords at once both comfort and utility, and with the addition of a straw or velvet hat ornamented with feathers, and half boots or Roman shoes, Roman shoes were a kind of half shoe, constitutes a most attractive and appropriate carriage or promenade costume. I think the thing about the jacket that's worth noticing is it's richly ornamented à la militaire, with gold braid and netted buttons forming a sort of epaulette on the shoulders. So an epaulette comes from Army and Navy uniforms of the time. We still have them, and in our time it's just a little band of cloth. But epaulettes during that time were quite ornate. And so they've toned it down for this, for the Spencer. But we're still in the height of the Napoleonic Wars at this point. We're actually gearing up. Within a few months, Napoleon will be defeated for the first time in March, April. And so everybody's still very kind of keen on the military at this point. And a lot of fashion has military elements. So we've still got the epaulettes on the shoulders. The Spencer is embroidered up the seams of the back, and this is, of course, why they're showing it from the back on the shoulders and cuffs to correspond with the bottom of the robe. So who has invented this startling outfit? It would needless to observe that this dress admits of being constructed in any colour. So you can pick a colour that suits you, even white, and of many suitable trimmings. You don't have to have the gold frogging. You don't have to have the gold embroidery. It is the sole invention of Mr. Barry, tailor and habit maker, 55 New Bond Street, where it is exhibited and where orders are received. Now, what I think is really interesting here is Mr. Barry, tailor and habit maker. Now, habit there is referring to riding habits. And so the people who made riding habits were specialists. A woman's riding habit was a really complex construction. And Mr. Barry clearly has decided to branch out. So this is where we get this very beautifully tailored jacket, tailored in a way that women's jackets normally aren't. Epaulette, shoulders, frogging, it's much more like a riding habit jacket, a hacking jacket, as it might also be called. And so Mr. Barry has decided to see if he can get into the fashion game, which I think is really interesting. So that is the first of our fashions for January. Next week, I'll see you with some really different dresses, like chalk and cheese from this one, from La Belle Assemblée. That's this week in the Regency. I'm Elizabeth Layden. I'll see you next week in the Regency.